Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and this time we are talking about even more rumors regarding Nintendo Switch 2. If these rumors prove to be true, we will have more details on the reveal trailer for Nintendo Switch 2 and more info on a really big feature, enhanced backwards compatibility. So I'm actually quite interested in talking more about this today. But before going forward, let me take this moment to ask that if you do enjoy my content, to please subscribe and hit the notification bell, and if you're unsure, watch through this video and then decide. So we have rumors coming from two different places here. The first one is coming from Mike Odyssey, a fellow YouTuber who speaks on things about Nintendo. Now, he hasn't been making as much content as of late. He's actually been more focused on his networking. He's a master of networking, I would say. He even hosted Indie Mania and partnered with IGN. So there's definitely some professionalism and credibility that maybe you can take away from that. But at the same time, it's not like Mike has a long history of leaking things and being correct either. So I'll let you decide whether you should trust it or not, but this is what Mike had to say. I usually don't share information, and I'm not a leaker, but I recently heard that Nintendo is diligently working on multiple patches for several games. Not all of them. These patches will be showcased in the upcoming Switch 2 trailer. My understanding is that we won't be upsold on playing Breath of the Wild or The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom in 4K resolution on the Switch 2, which is fantastic news. Additionally, the trailer is complete, and the highlights include screen size, new Joy-Cons, third-party support, and a new dock. The screen size will be relevant to the Let's Play Together feature in table mode. I assume he means tabletop mode. And then he says here again, I'm not a leaker, LOL. So there's actually a little bit more to read here, but let's just focus on this part first because there's quite a lot. So the first part is that Nintendo's working on patches for different Switch 1 games, and we will not have to pay for them. And this is quite interesting because he does mention Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and Breath of the Wild specifically, it has been reported that there will be a 4K remastering of Breath of the Wild. Now, there's been some debate on what form this might take. I personally have felt that it wouldn't really be the smartest move to just release a physical version of Breath of the Wild with the DLC in 4K on Switch 2, because Switch 1's backwards compatible. Breath of the Wild just came out for the prior console. If it had come out on Wii U, or if maybe more time had passed, I would think, okay, maybe there's something behind this. But I've been personally leaning in the direction of, it kind of just makes sense for this to be treated more so as a patch as opposed to a whole-on remastering that takes up a significant part to Nintendo's release schedule. So from this perspective, I find it more believable, and, well, I mean, if it's free, I think most of us are going to be okay with that. Most of us already have Breath of the Wild and or Tears of the Kingdom, and would gladly give the game another go if it's in 4K, if it doesn't require us to pay another $70. And Nintendo can still push this in a way where Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and other Switch 1 games that have an evergreen status can continue to sell for more years to come. I think some people assume that just once Switch 2 comes out, that Switch 1 games are going to stop selling. But as a Nintendo fan who has always moved on to the next generation console immediately, I have always noticed in the stores that older Nintendo games from prior generations still keep their price, are still being sold, so there's still going to be plenty of reason to have Breath of the Wild on store shelves because people will still pick it up, especially if there's an enhanced version, and Nintendo does market that fact, that a lot of their bigger popular games on Switch 1 that continue to sell, that stay on store shelves, will have somewhat of an enhanced version on Switch 2. And also, if this is indeed how they're going to treat Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, this leaves the door open for another Zelda game to take the spotlight for a release next year. But Mike also goes on to talk about how the trailer for the Switch 2 reveal is complete. It's going to tell us more about the screen size, which similar to the OLED trailer, they highlighted the screen size there. That makes sense. They will emphasize the new Joy-Cons. There's going to be some new features there. That also makes sense. Third-party support, which I find interesting because we have been thinking and speculating, and also there have been reports and rumors suggesting so, that there's going to be some significant AAA third-party support. And if this rumor is true, it aligns with what we've been thinking, that Nintendo is going to be showcasing this. Increased AAA third-party support is going to be a selling point for Switch 2. Seeing certain franchises that we did not come to expect on Switch 1 might be more of a standard on Switch 2, like Call of Duty, for example. But then also it's mentioned the new dock. How might the new dock be important? Well, from what we're theorizing of the different leaks and shipping manifests, the dock will facilitate better power and performance in docked mode, which would certainly benefit our experiences when playing on the TV. But Mike also mentions how the screen size would be relevant to tabletop mode. And I agree with this actually. I've been thinking this for a while. If we're going to have an 8-inch screen, the screen will be noticeably larger and becomes an even more reasonable experience for tabletop mode. Setting up your Switch 2 on a table or a desk or somewhere where more people can get a better look at the screen. An 8-inch screen at 1080p would certainly make a bigger difference than what we've seen on Switch. But also, if the Joy-Cons are bigger, they'll be more comfortable to hold and perhaps will feel like overall better controllers than the original Joy-Cons, which would make playing with each Joy-Con individually as a controller more comfortable and thus making tabletop mode all the more serviceable. But Mike had a little bit more to say. In his replies, he said C equals connect. Now, we've had a lot of theories on what the C button might actually mean. If it does end up meaning connect, what would that actually do? Could it be about connecting the Joy-Cons magnetically? Could it be about connecting to some sort of social media feature or connecting to a party chat? There's a lot of ways this could be interpreted. So, if this is what it actually means, unless someone tells us more, we might just have to wait until they reveal the Switch 2 and tell us more about this feature. But going beyond what Mike Odyssey had to say, Samus Hunter chimed in. Regarding updates on Switch 1 titles for greater compatibility with 2, I can confirm that Nintendo has built a system to allow these types of updates. Although there has been work on a better version of Breath of the Wild, I am currently unaware of how it will be handled. So when it comes to Samus Hunter, I feel I have to summarize this every single time because there's always someone who remembers Samus Hunter from years back. Yeah, they had a shaky past, but in this year of 2024, there have been 3 different major announcements regarding Nintendo that they teased shortly before announcement. Xenoblade Chronicles X, Emmy of the Smiling Man Famicom Detective Club, and the Nintendo Direct about Donkey Kong in the Super Nintendo World Park. They have said other things that have yet to have been proven, but they have gotten nothing wrong in this year of 2024, and it looks like they've cleaned up their sources, so we think it's worth talking about what they have to say. And here they're essentially just agreeing with what Mike said, but the one interesting difference is that Samus Hunter's here talking about how Nintendo has put together a system to allow for these types of updates, which I think implies that while there may be some games that are getting an update immediately, there may be more down the road, which goes back to a theory I've had, where throughout the Switch 2 generation, 4K updates to Switch 1 games are going to become one of those other regular things that happen every once in a while. Similar to how Nintendo every once in a while announces an update for Nintendo Switch Online, these 4K updates might be the same. And I'll just say, I wouldn't be surprised if these 4K updates are also tied to being a Switch Online member. Perhaps they're free if you have a Switch Online account, but if you don't, you would then have to pay for it. But Samus Hunter has a bit more to say here. What I do know, however, is that 2 online-focused titles, which will be important to keep supported because their direct sequels will arrive no earlier than the end of 2026, will have updates with extra content as well as some new features related to the console's new services. And to follow this up, Starry Team Future here says, my guess being Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and Splatoon 3, and Samus Hunter says that is a good guess. So what I think is being suggested here is that there are going to be 2 online-focused Switch 1 titles that will not have sequels until, at the very earliest, the end of 2026. So holiday 2026 at the very earliest. And I don't think Samus Hunter is confirming that those titles are Splatoon 3 and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Although there is certainly some sense to be made here. When it comes to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, it makes sense to continue to support this game until Generation 10 comes out, presumably at the end of 2026, which aligns up with the timing Samus Hunter is suggesting here. Yes, Pokemon Legends ZA is coming out in 2025, but Pokemon Legends likely will not replace the need for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet when it comes to the competitive circuit for Pokemon, so they will still need to continue to support the game. Not to mention that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is still a big deal game that will have evergreen sales moving forward, even with the release of Legends ZA, so it does make sense to support it. So I can see Pokemon Scarlet and Violet being one of them. Splatoon 3, however, I'm not so sure on. Splatoon 3 came out in 2022, and yes, I understand Nintendo took quite a while to release all the DLC, but coming from those Midori codename leaks, one of the projects is for Spiral, which most believe to be for the next Splatoon game. And personally, I've been predicting that we'll see Splatoon 4 next year. We saw Splatoon 2 have a quick turnaround from Splatoon 1, 2 years, and it was in the launch year of Switch 1. I think we might see something similar this time around, except instead of it being a 2-year turnaround, it would be a 3-year turnaround, and Splatoon 4 will be in the launch year of Switch 2. I also think that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is just staying more relevant than Splatoon is. I think there's a lot more reason to get out a new Splatoon more quickly. I have a theory on what the other game might be if it's not Splatoon though, and that would be Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Most of the fan base is currently already unsure on how they're going to handle the future Smash Bros. Smash Ultimate is such a complete package that I'm not even sure they necessarily need a whole-on new game to keep Smash Bros. Relevant for years to come. What they could do instead is offer up a visual update, a 4K update, and announce some new content to come. Perhaps like a Fighters Pass Volume 3. Now, would I want a brand new Smash game? Yes, but also, I want to keep all the new characters and stages that are in Smash Ultimate as is. I don't think a reboot would be the best idea. But this is a theory based off a rumor that may or may not be true. We don't know exactly what is going to happen, but I do love the idea of enhanced backwards compatibility and an improved tabletop experience, and also, if that Switch 2 trailer is truly complete, then the rumors of a January reveal might actually be legitimate. Of course, we're going to have to wait and see. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.